Merkel Media.
What is the goddamn?
Please do not use gendered language.
Then what? I'll be arrested, put in airport jail.
Well, you're going to big club, and you ain't in it.
How dare you?
Mr. Speaker, the President of the
Hanson with Daylight NBC.
Jack Marius Tack Theratrix.
Hi, I'm Spartacus. Jackson, Sacramento, he, him. Steven Seagal.
Sex offender guy.
I'm Keith Morris.
Duffy.
I'm Rick James, bitch.
Sorting through the lies.
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from
$2.3 trillion in transactions.
And uncovering the centuries-long plan for world.
Let's talk about Chinese people.
Have you ever in a Turkish prison? Swangles in Fort Lauderdale?
I have sent 6 of my Libyan missiles to blow hardware department.
Nothing could be more fun than jumping off a cliff with 2 German bisexuals.
Oh, you English are so superior, aren't you?
Thank you, comrade.
And now, macroaggressions.
That's what assholes call it.
With your host,
Buddy, I don't know who you are, but you're about to get chlamydia.
Charlie Robinson.
Hey, Whitey, where's your hat?
You want to drop the blame on Charlie and say it's all Charlie's fault.
He was a retard.
I get some goddamn diuretic.
Welcome to Macroaggressions. I'm your host, Charlie Robinson. If you are watching us on Ickonic, Odyssey, Rockfin, Band.video, or listening wherever podcasts are served, thank you so much. We appreciate your amazing and continued support. If you want to connect with me, you can go to the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at Macroaggressions. Thank you so much to our fantastic sponsors, Haelan 951. This is an interesting product. You got to check this out. It is a fermented soy drink. The people that have been going through cancer or cancer recovery have flocked to this product. They love it. It's been on the market for 30 years, but it's kind of a well-kept secret. What they do is they take fermented, they take soybeans from Mongolia that are grown in this specific region with the right soil, no GMOs, no pesticides or anything like that. They make this fermented soy drink that tastes kind of weird, but I'm telling you right now, it has tremendous healing properties. You need to check it out. I'm never going to get, too much of a hard sell on any of these products. And I will always encourage you to research them as much as you can. But this one especially, if you are interested, you can go to the website. They built a landing page for us. You can check it out on your own, watch the videos, read a little bit about it. I really encourage it for this because this is an unusual product most people don't really know about. You can go to Haelan951.com/macro. That is spelled HAELAN 951.com/macro. Read up about it. Check it out. They've been making this stuff for 3 decades, and well, apparently the people that are in a position to need this product for recovery after going through cancer, they have been extremely interested in it. So that's how I tiptoe around what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say. But I will say this, read about it. Just go to the website and take a look on your way out. Use the promo code MACRO to save yourself some money. Also, True Hemp Science. We love them. They're our favorite hemp provider in Austin. They're just a small company making fantastic products out of hemp, CBD. And you should try it out. Check out. They've got a wide variety of products, but what I like, number 19 and number 41. Gives you the CBD that you need that's good for your body, gives you a little bit of a little pep in your step, keep you running all day long. So if you are so inclined and you are interested in finding out about what makes hemp-based CBD better than the rest, go to truehempscience.com/macroaggressions. See for yourself. and take a look. They'll give you, if you spend $65 or more, they'll throw in a bottle of number 81 distillate for you. They'll throw in some stickers and things like that. Free shipping, over $150 inside the continental United States. Definitely try it out before you buy it out and see what you think. Read up on it and see if it is right for you. Well, this episode is going to be a bit different. This is my presentation from March 11th, 2022 on the Forbidden Knowledge News Conference that was held in Rockfin. It's the second time I've been asked to speak at this event. I really appreciate Chris Matthew and Corey Hughes over there. They're my partners on another show I do called Day Zero. But they've put this great panel together. It went for 3 days on Rockfin. I had a 2-hour slot. And what I talked about the World Economic Forum, and I went into excruciating detail. I think you might want to check it out. I think there might be something to this. That my speculation is that the Fourth Industrial Revolution might be just a fancy facade for the Fourth Reich. We've talked about Klaus Schwab before, but not quite to this level. So if you are ready for it, strap yourself in, because this is going to be a good one. And if you are inclined, you can reach back out to me. The website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com, Twitter, @macroaggressions. So check it out. Hello, all of you Rockfin lunatics. Thank you so much for joining us for the Forbidden Knowledge News Conference. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you to Chris, Corey, everybody at the team at Forbidden Knowledge News for inviting me back. If you are interested, my show, Macroaggressions, is available on Rockfin. You can subscribe to it whenever. And my group show, The Union of the Unwanted, is available here, as well as Day Zero. So we are branching out to try and get you as much information about all this insanity as we can. So when we discussed this, when Chris and Corey and I talked about the ideas for my topic for this conference, well, I really felt like we could go a couple different ways with this, but one of the most important things that I think right now is the role of the World Economic Forum. It's a term that a lot of people didn't know about. They might have heard, passing on television that the private jets from around the world have descended on Davos in January for this meeting of all these economic and, very well-connected individuals that are getting together to discuss, unicorns and rainbows and charities and green new deals and all that stuff, all this stuff. They're going to go save the world, don't you know? Right. So you might have heard of them. And you probably didn't think much of it, except that you didn't get a ticket. You didn't have to spend $20-something thousand to go to Davos, or $250,000 or whatever it costs. And you probably didn't care, because who wants to hang out with these people anyway? But let me tell you something. You might want to be paying attention to who they are and what they're doing, because these people have an undue amount of influence in this world, and they intend to use it. So where I wanted to start with this, or where I want, really the whole concept behind this talk, is that the World Economic Forum's big push is for the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And I think it is reasonable to ask the question, are they seeking the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or are they seeking to build the Fourth Reich? And say, get out of here with that stuff. I want you to know that I wouldn't be doing this presentation unless there was quite a bit of evidence that these people are involved in something just as nefarious as what the Nazis had planned. So it isn't out of the realm of possibility. And in fact, when you get done listening to this, you're going to probably have a different opinion than what you had going in, because the evidence is pretty overwhelming. So what we're going to do is we're going to let's just start at the top. Who's the World Economic Forum? Well, the World Economic Forum was founded in 1971 by Klaus Schwab, and he had influence from a variety of people, but he's recognized as being the founder of it. David Rockefeller was very much involved. Maurice Strong, the godfather, a very close associate, was involved with the forum for many, many years. And, you know, what they started off was this group of think tank, so to speak, a group of educated, powerfully connected, definitely wealthy, and certainly devious individuals. They're plotting how they can help to manage the world. And by manage the world, they mean run the world. Now, you don't have to belong to just the World Economic Forum or just Bilderberg or just the United Nations. There's no rule in this club that says that you can't be members of all of them. And in fact, many people are. So there's a lot of overlap. If this were a Venn diagram of evil, you could have the United Nations, and you could have Club of Rome, Bilderberg, Committee of 300, a lot of overlap between all of these people here. So it's important that we know who we're dealing with. These are not altruistic, wealthy benefactors seeking to spread their money for the betterment of society. They'll tell you that they are, and that that's their mission, because you got to have a cover story. Because if your slogan is World Economic Forum, we're here to run the world, maybe not the best. So they hide it. Of course, it's only hidden to the extent that you choose to look for it, because when you dig into it, even just a little bit, what you find is that these people have a plan for humanity. And it's not the sort of plan that you're going to want to go along with. So I've got 2 hours here tonight. I'm going to unpack this as in a detailed manner as best I can. It is not going to. I can't do it all in 2 hours. Okay, I recognize that there is quite a bit of information to get to, and we aren't going to be able to cover it all. But I'll tell you what, I'll do the best I can. I've got notes, and that's it's a good start for me. So, look, let's start with this. Okay, the World Economic Forum, this is my thesis here. The World Economic Forum is creating the framework for a one-world government with them and their partners in charge. Given their roots, influences, partners, and agenda, is the World Economic Forum's dream of the Fourth Industrial Revolution actually the reimagination of the Fourth Reich? So, Klaus Schwab, he's the founder of it. He's every bit. I mean, his PR people need to pull him aside and say, "For Palpatine fashion stage that you're going through, it's not a good look." I mean, you are an evil Bond villain, but could you tone it down a little bit, because it's a bit too on the nose. You kind of look a little bit too evil even for us. So let's start with the history of Klaus Schwab. He was born in 1938 in Switzerland to a father, Eugen Schwab, which I can only assume is short for eugenics Schwab. I don't know. Let's just assume that that's what it's for. He's a Swiss industrialist. He ran a company called Escher Wyss, and that was a Swiss manufacturing facility that had a very deep partnership with the Nazis. And now, I'm not trying to say that Klaus Schwab himself was born in 19... war had kicked off, right around that time. But his father, on the other hand, had very, very close ties with Adolf Hitler, Nazi regime. And the reason why they had those close ties was because the Nazi regime needed them desperately. parts that Escher Wyche made. So and what did they make? Well, they made key nuclear bomb making technologies that Hitler was trying to perfect. Later, they wound up selling those nuclear bomb making technologies as they developed them and got better and better. They wound up selling them to South Africa. South Africa has nukes is because of Escher Wyche. Own it. He ran, it's a 200-year-old company. It was started in 1805. So he didn't run it, but he managed it at the time. And later in life, Klaus Schwab would go, become older, go through all of the appropriate deep state schooling, and then come out and wind up running it himself for a little bit, doing some mergers and acquisitions, and before he wound up leaving to start the World Economic Forum. We'll get into that in a little bit. But one of the things that Escher Wyche made for the Nazis were flamethrowers. So if you ever saw those World War II documentaries with Nazis with flamethrowers just going to town on people, that was made by Klaus Schwab's father's company. So if there's any question, well, I don't know, maybe he was a little connected to the Nazi. No. His company, Escher Wyche, was described and was given the title of National Socialist Model Company. So in case there's any question, let's just settle that right now. They worked with the Nazis. Okay. You could, in theory, work with Nazis without being a Nazi. You could. But I don't think that's what happened here. I don't think that you are that close of a partner. And later we'll get into a little bit more of what they had to do with regard to the Nazi gold. So, their involvement with the Third Reich was very extremely influential, extremely necessary for this German war machine. And he was treated as such. He was Reich royalty. So that's where we start, okay? So we don't exactly start from the best place, but if you're trying to make connections between the Fourth Industrial Revolution that the World Economic Forum is talking about and the remaking of the Third Reich into the Fourth Reich, you're not too far away when you're starting with a guy who's fought with the Nazis himself. Now, again, that doesn't mean that Klaus Schwab is a Nazi himself. However, I think it's reasonable. Some of that ideology that runs through a family, especially one like the Schwabs, could rub off on the kids. Okay. It's not to say that it does in every case and on every child, but it could. Much in the same way that William Gates Sr. was a deeply involved eugenicist working with Planned Parenthood. Of course, he worked with the Schwabs as well. But, and then has a son, Bill Gates Jr., the one that we know, and he seems to follow in his father's footsteps of depopulation, birth reduction initiatives, vaccines, and all of that. So when it comes to these deep state families, they tend to fall in line. If they're going to go on to prominence, they tend to fall in line. If it's the one kid in the family that doesn't want to be like his dad, you never hear of him, right? They don't go on to start the World Economic Forum if they don't have that same sort of mentality. Klaus Schwab denies his biological mother, just doesn't talk about her. That's Emma Gisela Tiki-Lise Schwab. And the reason, he only mentions his stepmother, Erika Eprich. And part of the reason it is believed that he only mentions his stepmother and doesn't mention his actual mother is because his actual mother was Jewish. And his stepmother was like the master race, like full Aryan looking, Adolf Hitler would look at her and say, I like what you've done here, that sort of thing. Doesn't talk about the mother. So, Escher Wyche is known now, after 200 years, a little over 215 years or so, of being in service. It has gone through some changes in terms of mergers, acquisitions, name changes, the like. It's now known as Sulzer AG, Sulzer, and then the letters AG. Also, Andritz AG. This is, and what they do, just to give you diverge from generalities about being part of the Hitler war machine, they're deeply involved in building compressors, gas turbines, power generation, heat pumps, hydraulics, ships, hydroelectric power, and automation controls. So they do a lot of the stuff that's not very glamorous, but is really necessary when you're building the war machine. If you recall, if you've ever watched some, maybe slightly obscure World War II documentaries about how the Allies targeted a heavy water facility in Norway that was working to help create enriched uranium through this process. They needed this heavy water plant in Norway. Allied saboteurs wound up blowing the place up or compromising it in some way. That Norwegian heavy water treatment plant was built by Escher-Wesch. So this is the type of involvement that they have. They wasn't tangential. They were deeply involved with the Nazis. Okay. So anybody that wants to be dismissive of it and say, well, everybody was kind of forced to work with the Nazis. No. Don't allow them to go down that path. These guys were partners. That's what they did. They needed each other. They needed to, one side needed the other to build machinery for them. The other side needed the Germans to not murder them. So they worked together. But I think ideologically, they were very similar. And the fact that they were located in Switzerland provided them with cover as well. And, they were located in Zurich, but also in Ravensburg, which is in Germany, but it's close to the Swiss border. So there was a lot of movement back and forth. They stayed out of most of the bombings. Ravensburg wasn't bombed during the war, even though it was the leading eugenicist-related town in Germany. It was deemed to have no military capacity, which was obviously not true, and it was bypassed by the Allies. It wasn't bombed. I'm sure there was a reason for that went beyond we just don't, because they were bombing everybody. So I guess they just got lucky. Wink, wink. Klaus oversaw the merger of Escher-Wesch with Sulzer AG, where 10,000 employees were combined together. And that was one of the first things that he did once he got out of all of the schooling that he went through. We'll get to that in a second. But it and the reason why I bring that up is because it shows that even as a fairly young man, he had the ability to manage complex projects that involved coordinating up to 10,000 people. When you're talking about merging two companies together, especially one that's been around for 200 years, 150 years at the time or so, this is a big undertaking. And the fact that he was tasked with that shows that he was believed to be up to the task, organized, intelligent, capable. So you can say what you want about Klaus Schwab. I've seen the pictures of the guy on the beach wearing the crazy outfit and the leggings and the banana hammock and all that. I don't know if that's Klaus Schwab. Even if it is, guy likes to party. I don't know. But don't be too dismissive of his managerial skills, because he definitely has them. He's a deeply flawed and broken human being who is set on trying to rule the world. But he isn't dumb, and he isn't disorganized, and his plan might not come to fruition, but it won't be for a lack of effort, and it won't be for a lack of organization. If there's one thing the Swiss know, it's precision, okay? So he's got that covered. And I think that it is important to give him the respect that he deserves, simply so that you are not too dismissive of how dangerous this individual truly is. he doesn't do himself any favors by having that heavy German accent and talking about the world. I mean, he might as well. Emperor Palpatine. Talk to your PR guys. You need a makeover. So wanted nukes. They brought in 2 people to make that happen. They brought in, 3, if you count the United States government. But they brought in Klaus Schwab and they brought in Mark Rich. Now, Mark Rich, this is a dangerous individual in his own right. He's the founder or owner, maybe both, of Glencore. He's a Israeli spy for sure. He's a danger. He was in prison in America for a while until Bill Clinton pardoned him on his way out of office. That he took a lot of heat for that. But look, South Africa doesn't get the machinery to enrich their uranium without the United States State Department having a say in that. Okay. So that was allowed to happen. And the deal was, Escher Wish will give you the facilities, the products, the manufacturing capacity to enrich your uranium, but South Africa needs to provide the uranium for this. So they kind of works together. Escher Wish was one of the largest employers in Ravensburg during the war, and they used slave labor. Okay, so that we're clear on this. Again, if people want to try and put some sort of Schwab's father ran and the Nazi war machine, ask them how you justify the use of slave labor. Jews, gypsies, whatever. So, after the war, after World War II, obviously Europe was a mess. Switzerland was not. It was spared. And there was a ton of confusion. The Allies had swept in, parachuted in, frankly, and to save the day in the last year of the war, after they were granted a ton of blueprints and patents and secret technology by the British as the reward for getting into the war. America didn't get into the war out of the goodness of their own heart, of course, because they don't work like that. They were given technology by the British as the reason to come into the war. And one of the things that they did was they started the Marshall Plan. And the Marshall Plan was throwing money all over Europe, to mostly Western Europe, for rebuilding purposes. And the US and the British Pilgrim Society started funneling dirty Marshall Plan funds to insider companies that they had relationships with, companies that were, companies that were still around, that hadn't been bombed to smithereens. And maybe the reason why they hadn't been bombed to smithereens is because they had a relationship. I think that Escher Wish was playing both sides of this, frankly, because the fact that the Allies didn't bomb them shows some kind of coordination. They think they were going to need them later, but for whatever the reason, that's what happened. So the U.S. and British Pilgrim Society was managing a lot of this Marshall Fund money. And they approached Escher Wish and they said, listen, we got money for you, but we're going to need you to help us move the Nazi gold. And Alan Dulles and Bill Donovan at the OSS ran this op. And what they did, this was happening at the same time that like the United Nations was coming together. So we're talking like 47 or so in this time frame. Western Europe's a disaster. Europe in general is a disaster, but they're trying to build it back, and there's a lot of money flowing in. And the OSS, of course, later became the CIA. So just in case you're wondering, like, oh, is the OSS the good guys? No, they're not. They're most definitely not. They're run by Alan fucking Dulles, okay? So you know they're not good. But they wanted that gold. And they needed the support of Klaus Schwab's father in order to funnel it through Ravensburg and on to Basel, Switzerland, to the Bank of International Settlements, which is where the Nazi gold was taken. Now, I don't know if it's there. I don't know where it is. But it ain't in Germany, right? It's somewhere. And that turns out to be kind of a big deal, right? So when your father is working with the Nazis and then helping the Americans take the Nazi gold and stash it in banks, that's just a tough avenue to come back from. So I think that sets the tone for what Klaus Schwab is going to become. He's a part of this. Obviously, he's a kid at this time, so he's not a part, but his family is deeply involved in this. He grows up, he goes and gets a bachelor's degree and a PhD in engineering from Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, co-founded by Alfred Escher of Escher-Wyss. So he's obviously going to get into this school, going to do quite well. And again, he's a smart guy. Say what you want about Klaus Schwab, you can't call him stupid. He's a very intelligent man. Evil, for sure, but evil genius, like maybe in the literal sense. So after Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, he moves on and gets a master's degree and a PhD from, I swear to you, I'm not kidding, Jesuit University of Fribourg, Switzerland. So the Jesuits have entered the picture. I'm sure that's not setting anybody's mind at ease when the fucking Jesuits show up on the scene. Things are about to get real bad, real sketchy, okay? Then he goes on, and this is the most important part of his schooling, because then he goes on to America, where he gets a master's degree at Harvard in the Kennedy School of Government. Now, who does he meet at the Kennedy School of Government? Well, none other than Henry fucking Kissinger, okay? And they are like this. Henry Kissinger, in case you don't know, is maybe the worst person in the world. I mean, I'll put him up with the Queen of England. Dangerous individual. That's a guy that really doesn't get the sort of publicity that he deserves. But while at Harvard, Klaus Schwab doesn't just work with Henry Kissinger, he also works with John Galbraith, who is the head of the Pilgrim Society. Now, again, that's that group that was moving gold with his dad. So what happens is that Klaus is assigned to organize the European Management Forum in 1971. And both Kissinger and Galbraith played leading roles in this. It winds up becoming the World Economic Forum. Okay, so again, we don't have to speculate about if these people are on the good side or the bad side. When you're working with Henry Kissinger, you're on the bad side. That's established. And, look, so after this situation, he'd left the U.S., he had come back, he managed the merger of Salzburg with Escher-Wyss, and which was a major thing, stayed for a couple years to manage that all out, and then started European Management Forum, which later became the World Economic Forum. And so he's already deeply involved in nuclear bombs, at least his father was, and he was too, as he's progressing in age. He's becoming more involved in this. He was involved in West Germany getting the nuclear bomb and South Africa. And then he started to take on another core Nazi belief, and that is depopulation. And they all have that in common. don't you know? Kissinger has talked about, I think that the world's population should be cut in half. I think we should start by cutting Henry Kissinger in half. I think that would solve most of the problems that he envisions about overpopulation, his little troll, squatty troll body. Let's just cut him in half. I'll provide the chainsaw. Just kidding. Just kidding, FBI. So, through Kissinger, Klaus Schwab is introduced to the United Nations. And they start that long-lasting friendship, partnership. So, Dr. Joseph P. Farrell, great guy. Giza Death Star is his website. He's written a ton of books on this. He talks about what he calls Nazi International. And he describes what Nazi International is involved in. They're involved in 4 different aspects of things: corporations, funds, foundations, and think tanks. And these are interconnected through the World Economic Forum network. What you will find is that the World Economic Forum is made up of corporations, funds, foundations, and think tanks. It is Nazi International. Nazi International doesn't look very good on a business card, so they changed the name, you know. I mean, there's not an official name, Nazi International, of course, but you can't come right out and say that. So you use terms like, we're just going to have a forum with talk about economics. It'll be the World Economic Forum. Interesting of note, Klaus Schwab having breakfast in New York City at the Park West Synagogue with the head of the Appeal of Conscience Foundation to discuss a bigger role for Jews in his group on the morning of 9/11. I'm sure Klaus got the note to stay out of the building, right? Yes. So I'm looking through my notes to see. I've got a bunch of quotes. I'm going to get to those, but I'm going to give myself a minute before. So let's talk about what's going on at the World Economic Forum. Okay. 600 professionals from over 90 countries. They're CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. They are in royal houses. They're leading NGOs. They are running national nonprofit organizations. They're public figures in civil society. They're sports personalities. There's all kinds of people. They're all groomed for this job, right? They are coming in to be a part of this. Now, some of them come in early, before they have really established themselves. Those are the World Economic Forum's young global leaders. We're going to get to them because those are super important to understand, because they're like seeds that you plant and water with tyranny and blood and money. And then they sprout into people like Jacinda Ardern and Justin Trudeau. So if you invest enough time and effort and training and grooming with these people from a early age, when I say early, I mean mid-20s and up, then what you can get is you can position them you can seed them into places in which they will rise through the ranks, be that politics, big business, media, philanthropy, whatever. So this is from Klaus Schwab. What we are really proud of now is the young generation, like President Trudeau. So we penetrate the cabinets, and I know at least half of his cabinet are young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Gee, I wonder what happened with the trucker convoy. I just don't understand why that was going and going and going, and then all of a sudden they made it go away. I wonder if it has anything to do with Klaus Schwab penetrating half of the Canadian cabinet. You know, with people like Justin Trudeau, as he mentioned. What about Chrystia Freeland? You remember that maniac? Who said that she was cutting off all of the money to everybody? Deputy Prime Minister of Finance for Canada? Oh yeah, she's a World Economic Forum young global leader. Imagine my surprise. But it doesn't end there. These are the prominent names just in Canada. So let's take this trucker convoy that happened earlier in 2022. And let's think about who you would need to control if you wanted to put that thing down. Well, they've got Elisa Goldberg, Assistant Deputy Minister, Strategic Policy and Global Affairs. This is all Canada now. Karina Gold, Minister of Families, Children and Social Development. Yikes. Jagmeet Singh, Leader, New Democrat Party. Ratna Omidar, Senator, Ontario. Hassan Youssef, Senator, Ontario. Renee Marie Tremblay, Senior Counsel to the Supreme Court of Canada. Uncle Klaus is not offering internships to morons and custodians. The Deputy Prime Minister of Finance is going through his little program. And he intends to use them. He didn't spend the money, put in the time and effort and invest in these people for them to sit around and do nothing. They're in positions of power for exactly these reasons, like the trucker convoy. If something comes up, you get activated. You need to get up, get in front of that camera, say what we tell you to say, and keep saying it until we tell you to stop saying it. And if you fail to do that, you will wind up with 2 bullet holes in the back of your head after committing suicide. Okay? So don't kid yourself. These people are extremely dangerous. And now, and I think that the people that participate in this are aware of it. At some point, they become aware of it. So who else is a notable young global leader from the World Economic Forum? I mean, if what I'm saying is so alarming that they're literally grooming the next generation of leaders, who would you need to see on this list before you became actually concerned about it? Well, I mentioned Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand. There's something about these people, man. They suck their souls out, and it looks like it in their face. When you look at her, she's evil. And I'm not a super spiritual guy. I mean, I'm not like a religious guy. I don't like, got the devil in her. But like, if someone was like, she actually does have the devil in her, I would be like, I believe you. Like, I don't doubt it. She's got that look, you know? A lot of them do. Justin Trudeau is one, obviously. Emmanuel Macron, Prime Minister of France, who is married to a woman that's like 25 years older than him. Which isn't really important. It's just weird. I just figured I'd throw it in there because it's interesting and fucking weird, to be honest with you. She looks like his mother. Angela Merkel, former German prime minister and possibly Adolf Hitler's daughter. I don't know. I've heard that rumor. I know you have too. It's possible. I mean, I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Bill Gates. Now, Bill Gates isn't a young global leader. I mean, he wasn't, but he was in the first class to go through in 1992 or 1993, forget. So he was in the first class of that, and he wasn't necessarily young at that time, but he's counting as part of that. Jeff Bezos. Gavin Newsom, Governor, California. Pete Buttigieg, who gave one of the Let Them Eat Teslas speeches recently. Purple-haired, annoying, Shitty soccer player Megan Rapinoe. Young global leader, World Economic Forum. Tulsi Gabbard. Disappointing, but true. Mark Zuckerberg. Surprising because, frankly, I thought he was created in a lab. I didn't know he was around. I mean, I don't know. Lena Wen. Oh, Lena Wen. She's got a face for radio, don't you think? Interesting that Lena Wen, who's always pushing for the vaccine, she was also interviewed as one of the witnesses to the Boston bombing, don't you know? That non-bombing event. You can find a episode of Macroaggressions I did with Monica Perez called The Boston Non-Bombing. Go listen to that episode. That thing was fakety fake from the start. And Lena Wen, of all the people you could interview, a World Economic Forum young global leader just happened to be standing on the street. Let's interview this nice lady who's later going to be pushing the COVID vaccine narrative like her life depended on it, because it probably fucking does. Let's be honest. Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, famously one of the PayPal mafia, $500,000 investment in Facebook for a 10% stake, founder of Palantir with Alex Karp, founder of a company called Ambrosia, which takes blood from young people and sells it to old people. And I'm not kidding. I wish I were. A openly gay conservative Republican. A very unusual combo, I would say, and a dangerous dude, to be fair. Marissa Mayer, former Yahoo CEO and one of the first dozen people working at Google. Ibram X. Kendi, Mr. Everybody is Mr. Critical Race Theory himself. World Economic Forum young global leader. Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why there's this agenda for critical race theory being pushed through all these schools. I just wonder. The guy is connected to the World Economic Forum. Wyclef Jean, musician. Chad Hurley, one of the co-founders of YouTube. Maria Bartiromo, formerly of CNBC, I'm not sure where she is now. Bloomberg, maybe, I think. I'm not sure. She's financial person. Scott Morrison. Boris Johnson. I gotta say, I mean, I understand that Boris Johnson has gone on to become the prime minister in spite of himself. But you really took a look at him when he was younger and said, this guy's going places. Really? Maybe just like because he was such an empty vessel that you knew you could fill him with whatever agenda you wanted and he would carry it out. But there's nothing about Boris Johnson now, or especially when he was younger, that makes you scream, that young man is going places. Dan Crenshaw. He's already got the one eye thing covering his one eye. Jimmy Wales, founder of Wikipedia. Don't use Wikipedia, people. Don't use it. It's no bueno. So these are some of them. Not all of them. There's a lot of them. You wouldn't recognize most of the names. And in fact, going forward, what you should aim to do is if in the next couple of years, something happens in your country that seems completely inconsistent with logic and reality, and somebody is in front of a microphone and camera, and they're pushing this agenda, idea, concept, law, whatever it is. And you're watching this and you're going, I don't connect with this. This seems insane to me, what these people are doing. I want you to do one thing. I want you to find out who that person is, and I want you to look and see if they are a member of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders. Because if they are, it'll make a whole lot more sense. Because what I just read off from my list of these people are, a lot of them are names that you recognize because they are currently involved in some really disingenuous shit. Lena Wen, Jacinda Ardern, Emmanuel Macron, Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland, Gavin Newsom, Bill Gates, like all these people. Like, if you don't know who Lena Wen is, and you just see her, and as my friend Frank from Quite Frankly calls her a homunculus. If you just see her and you go, God, that lady, I don't like the look on her face. It's easy to not like the look on her face. She looks like she's had a stroke. But if you look at her and you go, I get a bad vibe from this lady, and I don't know who she is, just check them out. See if they're a member of the World Economic Forum's Young Global Leaders. They probably are. But also, there's another group that doesn't get much publicity, and that's the World Economic Forum's Global Shapers. Now, this is an even younger group of people. This was started in 2011. These people are aged 18 to 27 years old, okay? There's currently a little over 10,000 of them. They're spread out over 150 different countries. So they're really, you talk about planting seeds. They're really planting some seeds with these people. This is long range thinking. This is, 18-year-olds that you hope are going to be good to go in 20 or 30 years. So they're currently involved in, just in the last year, they've worked on 698 what they call projects, and they are a member of 448 different hubs that are operating throughout the world. You can find one of these Young Global Shapers hubs probably in a city near you. If you're in a major city, they're in 448 different locations. So this is what they're doing on the grassroots. Now, if you're living in America and you're listening to this or watching this, then you understand about the role of George Soros, how he has come in and been heavily involved in, forget national elections, right? Everybody finances those. He's been more involved in the local elections, city council, attorney general offices and races in places like San Francisco and Los Angeles and Philadelphia and Milwaukee and Dallas and places like this where he can get in, sprinkle his money around, and it goes further than it would in a national race. And then he gets woke district attorney weirdos like Chesa Bowden to do his dirty work for him and start to remake society more on the local level. So the World Economic Forum is doing this as well through their Global Shapers program. And that is something that people really aren't talking about, but it's local level globalism. That's the best way I can describe it. Local level globalism. Excuse me while I take a drink. So let's see. So what do they want? What are these people trying to do? Right? I want to read a quote from an advisor, top advisor to Klaus Schwab, Professor Yuval Noah Harari, said this, quote, "Humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have this soul or spirit and nobody knows what's happening inside of them and that they have free will, that's over." Are we paying attention now? That's over. So what is the fourth? So if I'm going to make the case that the fourth industrial revolution is actually the Fourth Reich, then we have to understand what the fourth industrial revolution is. Now, it's not a conspiracy theory. It is the mission statement of the World Economic Forum. It's not in secret. It's not me speculating. I'm not getting into some meditative trance and coming up with these ideas. It's on their website. Okay? It's not hidden. And you have to so he writes a book, Klaus Schwab writes a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. And in this book, it says, it starts with, of the many, this is from the book, of the many diverse and fascinating challenges we face today, the most intense and important is how to understand and shape the new technology revolution, which entails nothing less than a transformation of humankind. Okay. So nobody is going to fault Klaus Schwab for not aiming high. He's only seeking the transformation of humankind. Again, I'm not a traditionally religious person. I don't get all up in arms about people being blasphemous or anything. I respect their religions. It's not particularly for me. But I recognize that there's benefits in all of these religions. I also recognize they get hijacked. If I were a deeply religious person, I would take personal offense to this guy. Because what he is seeking to do is to become God. He is talking about the transformation of humankind. He's talking about it like it has to happen, it will happen, and he will make it happen. He's got the messianic complex down. If he is going to be running the Fourth Reich, mental capacity, check. Already thinks he's God. And look, if you think you're God, that explains dressing like Emperor Palpatine. It explains a lot. It explains a lot of this guy's behavior. I mean, because this is how you would do it if you thought you were above reproach. You would go out there and give these speeches, and you would write a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. You would write a book about COVID and release it like 2 months after COVID came out. Like talking about the Great Reset. Be like, brother, you're not supposed to know. Like, I've written 3 books. I know how much work goes into writing a book. And I know how far out in advance you have to write it. And then you have to make sure that right before it gets published, that it's up to date with the most, like his book came out right when COVID came out. And he's talking about, okay, well, this big, we're going to have this big event where everybody gets sick and dies. And then we're going to remake society. And it's like, you're not supposed to know that. But the arrogance, the arrogance to write the book, put it out, and then just go, Klaus, people are going to connect the dots. And he goes, so what are they going to do about it? From his book, quote, synthetic and I feel like I should do it in his voice, but I'm not going to because that would be super annoying. But just imagine his gravelly German Darth Vader voice saying this, like in your head. Synthetic biology is the next step. It will provide us with the ability to customize organisms by writing DNA. Setting aside the profound ethical issues this raises, these advances will not only have a profound and immediate impact on medicine, but also on agriculture and the production of biofuels. Just go ahead and set aside those profound ethical issues, why don't you? Those pesky ethical issues. Playing God and remaking human beings into synthetic monsters and chimeras. Put $5 in the Alex Jones was right tip jar. I mean, if you're interested, Klaus Schwab is giving it up. we're almost at the halfway point. I want to remind everyone, my name's Charlie Robinson. I'm the host of Macroaggressions Podcast. You can find that in audio format wherever podcasts are served. You can find it in video format on Rockfin, Odyssey, Ickonic, and band.video. My website is theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. You can find my 3 books there: The Octopus of Global Control, The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire, which was a #1 bestseller that I wrote with Jeff Berwick, and my last book, Hypocrazy, Surviving in a World of Cultural Double Standards. Those are all available on Amazon in paperbacks. They're all available. They're all available on Amazon. You know, Jeff Bezos had just read his fucking name off. It's the deal with the devil, I tell you. But I tell you, this is how we come at this. I'm going to use his platform against him. That's how I see it. I'm going to use his platform to sell my books that are talking about these things, because the more people that understand these concepts, the better chance we have of bringing this whole crooked system down. So I'm using him. And so, yeah, you can get the paperback version on Amazon. If you want to get around him, though, and you're interested in buying my books in a digital format only, I don't have the paperback, but the digital format only, the Octopus book and the Hypocrazy book, first and third books, are available through my website. If you donate on PayPal, $10, I'll send you the new book, Hypocrazy. If you donate $15 or more, I'll send you the Octopus of Global Control, as well as Hypocrazy, digital formats. I'll send them to you as an EPUB and as a PDF. And once you get it, I say, read it, give it to your friends. I don't care. Share it. So if you're interested, that's my background. I've written a couple books on this, and I get into these topics fairly regularly on macroaggressions. So it's a good place to check out what I'm doing, because I think that this is an important topic. And I'm not trying to be funny when I compare the Fourth Industrial Revolution to the Fourth Reich. There's a lot of common threads. We're going to get into that here in the second hour. And again, thanks to Chris and the team at Forbidden Knowledge News for putting this conference together. This is the second time I've been a speaker. It's my pleasure. I also do a show with Chris called Day Zero, which is off the rails. Off the rails, man. If there's a way to get a podcast like kicked off of the streaming, like, the Apple Podcast, Spotify, I'm pretty sure we're going to find a way to do it. We talk about crazy stuff on there. Okay, so back to the World Economic Forum and back to their connections. So I mentioned the young leaders and with their connections, to government and to some big business. But there's some other ones I want to mention as well, because I don't want to let them off the hook. And so before we get into what the Fourth Industrial Revolution is, again, let me just go back and add a couple names to this list so that we're clear on who the bad guys are. In that first batch, that first draft class of 1992, where I told you that they took the people that they weren't necessarily young at the time, but they were the first. That draft class was Angela Merkel, Tony Blair, Nicolas Sarkozy, Bono, Bill Gates, and Richard Branson. I love you too. It's tough. It's tough to reconcile this. I just interviewed Mark Devlin for Macroaggressions, and he's the author of Musical Truths Volume 1, 2, and 3, and we talk about Bono in that episode that's not out yet. Damn disappointing. But see, these globalist groups, they suck you in because they talk to you about how they're going to save the world. And if you've already got an inflated ego, like maybe a rock star, famous soccer player with purple hair, or a actor like Leonardo DiCaprio, and you've banged all the ass you can bang, and you got all the money in the world, and there's nothing left to get you high. Like you're Leonardo DiCaprio and you're Bono. You've done it all. The World Economic Forum comes along with a plan. We're going to turn you into a charity icon. Who speaks at United Nations conferences? Leonardo DiCaprio. Who simultaneously rents the 5th largest yacht in the world and fucks around in the Mediterranean with Victoria's Secret models 1 week after receiving an award at the United Nations for his environmental consciousness? Leonardo DiCaprio. So you don't need to have a soul to do this. You just need to have an audience. And Leo's got an audience, and Bono's got an audience, and Richard Branson's got an audience. And so they're in the club. We penetrate the cabinets. I bet you do, Klaus. I bet you do. Jack Ma from Alibaba is in the club. Larry Page from Google. Nicholas Zenstrom from Skype. Ivanka Trump. She's a young global leader. Vivek Murthy, U.S. Surgeon General. You know, that guy that's pushing the vax really hard? That guy that won't look at anything other than his set of numbers that are totally fraudulent and skewed. That guy. He's with the World Economic Forum. Tom Cotton, Crown Princes of Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands. They've got it all. Okay. The World Economic Forum's Board of Trustees, though. This is a group you want to keep an eye on. We have Al Gore. He's a member of he's on the World Economic Forum Board of Trustees, because when you're running global carbon scams, you've got to be on the Board of Trustees. Mark Carney, UN Climate Action, ex-banker. Christine Lagarde, President, European Central Bank. Lawrence Fink, CEO of BlackRock. Chrystia Freeland, Deputy Minister of Canada. She's the bank freezer. And Kristalian Grigoriev, the Managing Director of the IMF. So all the globalist, scumbag, think tank, banker people are present and accounted for here. Well, maybe not all of them, but a good start. But it doesn't end there, unfortunately. And I think this is why this is going to kind of make sense why these people are as powerful as they are. World Economic Forum connected leaders. Again, Angela Merkel, we've talked about. Jacinda Ardern, Boris Johnson, Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron, Mario Draghi, Scott Morrison, Xi Jinping, Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Jay Inslee. These people are connected to the World Economic Forum. Even Xi. So they got a little bit of everything. A little bit of bankers, a little bit of celebrities, a little bit of royalty, big tech, politicians, Al Gore. Al Gore might be the most dangerous guy that you would never in a million years think is trouble. But that guy's trouble. If you look anywhere you look and you find climate scams, carbon taxes, you're going to find Al Gore. So let's get into this. I want to get into, so before you understand what the fourth industrial revolution is, I think it's probably reasonable that you hear about what the first, second, and third industrial revolutions were, just so you can compare them. So The first revolution, the first industrial revolution, was when machines became powered by water and steam. Okay. And if you think about living in a time before machines were powered that way, it'd be a whole lot of work for not a lot of output. Second industrial revolution. Now you're talking about things being powered by oil, electricity, and the emergence of the steel industry and how that transforms societies. Now, who was involved in those? That's Rockefellers, Carnegie's, definitely involved in that, steel industry. Edison, the bankers, JP Morgan, all that. They're coming out of this Rothschilds were earlier, but definitely Rockefellers, and at least the American version of Rothschilds' second revolution starting to show up. Third industrial revolution, powered by computers, electronics, and the internet. Okay. So that's where we've been. That's where we are right now. We're in the third industrial revolution. Computers, electronics, internet. And computers and electronics, yeah, that's been 70 years or so. Internet, well, at least on a consumer level, 35 years maybe. Militarily, definitely before that. But we haven't really been in this revolution for that long. 70 years. I mean, by comparison, oil, electricity, and steel. Probably more like you probably got 150 years out of that. So we're not necessarily getting very, very many decades for our revolution, because the fourth industrial revolution, they say, is happening right now. And this is powered by the physical, biological, and digital. He describes this fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. They are talking about transhumanism. That's what this is. The fourth industrial revolution is transhumanism. So now when we start asking the question about the fourth industrial revolution and the Fourth Reich, now you have a different idea, a different perspective of what I was talking about when I say the fourth industrial revolution. Now we're talking about Nazi ideology and transhumanism ideology. Now they start to sound a lot more similar than you might have thought to begin with. But you just had to understand what they meant by the fourth industrial revolution. It's a thinning of the herd. It's a eugenics operation, a depopulation operation, masquerading as an elevation of human consciousness. It's fascinating what they're trying to do here. Totally demonic and insane. But they're trying to convince you that they're taking humanity to a brand new level of merging with machines where you'll live in this Ray Kurzweil acid trip fantasy of never dying. And what's really going to wind up happening is they're going to put a microchip in your head and turn you off when they want you to. Like the exact opposite of what they're selling. The sales pitch for the Build Back Better narrative, which is crafted by the World Economic Forum, is global communism. Okay, that's what it is. It's a glossy marketing campaign, but it's global communism. When you just peel back the facade, you go, oh, I see what this is. It's a massive depopulation effort masquerading as a green green, like good for the planet, a green initiative. It's, yeah, well, I mean, I guess technically it's green because there will be fewer people on the planet polluting and everything, because they'll all be dead from starvation and all of this stuff. Now, I could do a whole presentation on Build Back Better. We're not going to do that because what they've got cooking with the fourth industrial revolution is fascinating. And it would take several presentations for us to get it all in. So I'm going to do the best that I can in 2 hours, but this is by no means a topic that you can unpack in this period of time. But this is what they say. They describe the fourth industrial revolution, transhumanism, as the best hope for a utopian future. Now, I want you to just think about this for a second, because on the people whose names I listed on here, Joe Biden and Boris Johnson and Justin Trudeau and Tony Blair and Angela Merkel and Bill Gates, and is there any part of you that thinks that those people give a flying fuck about you? Like, at all? The average person like us, they don't care at all. So why do you think that they're pushing so hard for a utopian future for all of us when they don't care about us now? They don't care about us in the present. What makes you think they're trying to build some utopian future for us in the future? Like, why would you believe them? They haven't shown you anything. They try constantly to oppress you. I think what it is they're building this great future for them, and they're telling us that we're coming along for the ride, but we're not. Because when we get into their readings and we get into their Georgia Guidestones and all this stuff, they talk about depopulation. They talk about reducing the population down to 500 million. Now, I know it sounds crazy, and I know it sounds like you got to put a tinfoil hat on to hear that stuff, but that's not me saying that. That's them writing about it. That's them putting out books about this and putting out the Georgia Guidestones and all this. Like, they're telling you what they want to do. I'm just passing along the message. So I don't have to invent this up. Could I, I couldn't be that diabolical, I don't think. So they're focused on trying to sell you that this is all a great utopian future. But really what it's doing is turning the world into an authoritarian digital system of global government that they control. And they'll control it digitally. They can't control us in an analog world. There's too many of us and too few of them. But the digital side allows them, like how that saying is, one man with a gun can control 100 without one. Well, one man with the media can control 1 million. So they're already building out this digital system of control, this authoritarian digital system of control in all its facets, which include social credit system, central bank digital currencies, smart internet ID cards, you name it, vaccine passports, all this stuff is part of this control grid that they're building around us. So they're selling you a utopian future. And they say that it's going to fix, this is what they say, climate change, which is fake, inequality, which is overblown, and social justice, which is a buzzword that means fuck all. Social justice is like one of those Orwellian terms, if you think about it. Societal justice, really? There's no justice out there. So again, he says what the fourth industrial revolution will lead to is a fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identities. That's what Klaus Schwab says. I don't like the idea of that. That's just me personally. But I want to read you what he this is a scary quote from his book. And again, Uncle Klaus didn't go to a bar, have too many shots of Jaeger, get all fucked up, and tell his buddy that he wanted to do all this. He wrote it in book, and you can buy it on Amazon. And what's funny is if you look at my book, The Controlled Demolition of the American Empire, one of the books that it recommends that you buy is Klaus's book. So, like, he says these things, and it's in his book. Okay, so I want to read you what he said in this book, and you think if this sounds like something you should maybe be slightly concerned about. And again, if I say this, I have no power, I have no money to make this happen, I have no authority. I could say this stuff all day long, nobody would think anything of it. When Klaus Schwab says it, with the amount of power and influence and money he has, it makes you pay attention. So here it goes. Quote, in fact, the science is progressing so fast that the limitations are now less technical than they are legal, regulatory, and ethical. The list of potential applications is virtually endless, ranging from the ability to modify animals so that they can be raised on a diet that is more economical. Like, allow yourself a minute to process this. What he's saying in the first part is that, look, the science is already here. We can do all this stuff. The problem is it's so fucking devious that A, we can't get it legal even with all of our connections. And B, it's so unethical that like we could never tell anyone about it. But the science, it's already there. Science part, we're good. The other part, it's like Kissinger's quote. The illegal, we do immediately. The unconstitutional, it takes a little longer. So, good to know that Klaus is his real concerns are the legal, regulatory, and ethical parts of this. He's like, yeah, that's gonna be a problem. But then he goes on to say the list of potential applications virtually endless, which, okay. Ranging, but this is the part that stuck out to me, because when he says animals, I think people. And he said, ranging from the ability to modify animals so that they can be raised on a diet that is more economical. I just go immediately to Soylent Green. Soylent Green is people. This is raised on a diet that's more economical. Like what? Like bugs? Like bugs? Like we'll eat the bugs? You will eat the bugs. The animals that you're talking about, Klaus, it's us, right? You can level with me. We're all bros here. I'm telling you, these people are out of their fucking minds, okay? But the problem is they have so much influence that you have to pay attention to them. I want to be dismissive of these people. I want to be like, oh, they're never gonna believe this. I got another quote for you. Oh my God. Listen, the Klaus Schwab's book is just insane. Like Diary of a Madman. Okay. He said, synthetic biology is the next step. It will provide us with the ability to customize organisms by writing DNA. Setting aside the profound ethical issues this raises, these advances will not only have a profound and immediate impact on medicine, but also on agriculture and the production of biofuels. I think I already read that one. But I mean, he's talking about customized organisms. And again, I go to us. I start thinking he's talking about us, customized organisms by writing DNA. Now, let me ask you this. And this is, now I am putting my tinfoil hat on, but allow me this indulgence, please. How much do you have to modify the DNA of a human being before it is legally no longer a human being and can be owned like you own a car? 1%? 9%? Like, what's the number? What percentage of the DNA? How do you calculate this? When does a tomato become a genetically modified tomato? Where's that line? What's that threshold? Because Monsanto patents genetically modified tomatoes because they're not quite tomatoes, because you can't patent nature. That would be insane. So you can patent some things that are just a tiny bit off from nature. Looks the same, sort of, acts the same, tastes kind of the same, not the same. Where's that line with people? They've got all of the lawmakers in their pocket. We've got transhumanism as the core fundamental belief of the Fourth Industrial Revolution World Economic Forum maniacs. They're trying to push everything digital. Forgive me if I'm a little bit paranoid of this. So, Klaus writes about wanting to, quote, I swear I'm not making this up, quote, intrude into our minds, read our thoughts, and influence our behavior. Well, look, I give him a point for honesty, frankly, because I don't, it's so refreshing to hear somebody just come right out and say it, because you know they're thinking it. He went on to imply that some of the things that you could use this technology for were things like brain scans before allowing people to cross borders to measure their security risks. Scanning your brain to see how much of a threat you are. Like, for real. Law enforcement and courts to be able to retrieve memories from people's minds. You know, like Minority Report. They're deeply involved in pre-crime. Like, Philip K. Dick books need to be moved from, like, fiction to nonfiction. Implantable devices like Neuralink, Elon Musk, implantable memories. Get your ass to Mars. Physical body monitoring by implanted devices. The reason for these implanted devices, Klaus Schwab wants to know, he wants for pre-sickness, auto release of medication, and remote vaccine updates. Does any of this sound like appealing to you? They are turning you into a robot that they can control. There's just too many of you fucking people on their planet. And if they can't kill you all off, which they're trying, then they're going to turn you into a bot. And not just the ones that I argue with on Twitter. Like, they're going to turn you into an NPC, a non-player character. From Klaus Schwab. We do not yet know how it will unfold, but one thing is clear. The response to it must be integrated and comprehensive, involving all stakeholders of the global polity, from the public and private sectors to academia and civil society. It will change not only what we do, but also who we are. It will affect our identity and all the issues associated with it. Our sense of privacy, our notions of ownership, our consumption patterns, the time we devote to work and leisure, and how we develop our careers, cultivate our skills, meet people, and nurture relationships. Klaus Schwab. Like, you've got to understand, part of their code of ethics is that they have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it. I don't fully understand it. It's called revelation of the method. It's kind of like there's a karma esoteric component to it that I don't really know the ins and outs of, but it is of their belief that if they tell you what they're going to do before they do it, and you either are too dumb to figure it out, too stupid, or too unmotivated to figure it out, too disorganized to figure it out, or you just don't care, then it's on you. When Klaus Schwab comes out and says, it will change not only what we do, but also who we are, believe him. He's telling you it's going to change you. It will affect our identity and all the issues associated with it. Like, what am I? What am I if I'm not a human being anymore? I've got so many vaccines running through me and a microchip in my head, and every time I want to go turn on InfoWars, I piss my pants. Because the guy hits the button, and then like, they're telling you it's going to affect your identity. They want to control the population through the tracking of actions, thoughts, behavior, and beliefs. Okay? Now, this is, again, I have my opinions on these things. This is not my opinion on these things. This is what they're talking about on the website. This is what they are actively doing. I don't have to make it up, and I'm not guessing. So, the way they're going to control the population through the tracking of actions, thoughts, behavior, and beliefs are through the following methods that they mention on their website. Okay? Vaccines, microchips, 5G, social credit scores, crypto, CBDCs, artificial intelligence, mRNA technology, gene editing, and data. You can find it on their websites. They talk about all that. So when the guy who's in charge of it comes out and says, it will change not only what we do, but who we are. And then you go to his website and he talks about vaccines, microchips, 5G, social credit scores, central bank digital currencies, artificial intelligence, mRNA technology, gene editing, and data. You go, oh yeah, well, maybe that's how he's planning to change who we are. Right? These dots are connecting themselves. I'm no private investigator here. Okay. let's be honest. Fourth Industrial Revolution is Agenda 2030. Okay. They have set up several categories. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 major categories for this fourth industrial revolution, this transhumanist agenda. First one is this: fusing technologies. What is fusing technologies? I'm going to run down a list of the things that make up what the World Economic Forum considers fusing technologies. Biotech, virtual reality, augmented reality, quantum computing, advanced materials, neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and blockchain. That is considered fusing technologies by the World Economic Forum. They are involved in all of those. The next of the 6 major components of the fourth industrial revolution is called ethics and identity. And just so you know, some of these industries that I mentioned, they show up in multiple places. First one as an example. For ethics and identity, first one, biotech. Again, behavior science, digital identity, values, human enhancement, COVID-19. In ethics and identity, COVID-19 is one of the industries. Interesting. Why do you think that is? Why do you think COVID-19 would fall in the ethics category? All the good people take the shots, no questions asked. We know they won't put up much of a fight. Because also in this category, we've got behavior science. You know who was deeply involved in biotech and behavior science? Jeffrey Epstein. He financed a lot of it. These people are all interested in the same thing. And the reason why they're interested in biotech, behavior science, human enhancement, and COVID-19 is because it's part of their eugenics operation. It's part of their depopulation plan. This is how you do it. You don't do it with bullets in the back of the head. You do it through medicine. Poison disguised as medicine. And you make money while you do it. It's fucking grotesque. The next major category, I mentioned that there's 6 of them. This is the third one from the World Economic Forum's Fourth Industrial Revolution. This section is called Agile Technology Governance. And that encompasses 5G, global governance, blockchain, and Internet of Things. That is for Agile Technology Governance. 5G, global governance, blockchain, and Internet of Things. Okay. It's just like if I'm talking about it if I'm talking about these topics independent of one another, they don't sound scary. But when the World Economic Forum is looking at them and they're like grouping them all together and they've got all these people and companies in those spaces under their control, I get extra creeped out. All of a sudden I'm like, Internet of Things can be cool. And then it's like World Economic Forum's like, Internet of Things. And I'm like, oh, fuck. They're going to kill me with my can opener. You know what I mean? Okay. This is a wild one. The next one is a wild one. Okay, we are now on 1, 2, 3. The fourth of the 6 main topics that the fourth industrial revolution is focusing on. This one is just one word: inequality. Pretty broad, don't you think? These are the 3 industries that they are working with on inequality: gender parity, taxation, mental health. Yeah, you're fucking crazy. Those like third bathroom, 57 pronoun people are nuts. Mental health most definitely should be in the inequality section. Like 100%. Gender parity and taxation. I thought taxation was an interesting component. Pay the gay away tax? Is that what we're talking about? I don't know. Next big category, number 5. This is called business disruption. The World Economic Forum's fourth industrial revolution has a big section called business disruption. And what does that involve? It involves the Great Reset, 3D printing, COVID-19, and robotics. The Great Reset. Yeah, I would probably file that under business disruption too. You know, with the currency going to nothing, the supply chain completely breaking down, computers shutting off, rioting in the streets, $50 a gallon gas. I would consider that a business disruption, you fucking maniacs, with your Great Reset. 3D printing. Yeah, pretty disruptive. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. COVID-19, business disruption. Yeah. Yeah, it gave you it's funny, I didn't see Bob's Hardware Store in Naples, Florida on the World Economic Forum's roster list anywhere. I did see Home Depot. So it's only these big businesses that click up into these global governance groups, right? And then what happens? You get COVID-19 under business disruption, and that looks like part of a business plan. It's not how do we prevent business disruption? It's how do we create business disruption? Because we're going to be fine. Big business, multinational conglomerate business, we're going to be fine. Small and medium-sized businesses, they're going to get crushed. They can't weather the storm the way the big ones can. So when they put business disruption as a category here, I tend to think of that as part of a plan, not part of prevention. So, and the last of the 6 categories for the fourth industrial revolution that the World Economic Forum is super concerned about is security and conflict. And within this category, they break it down into these different industries that they're deeply involved in: drones, space, artificial intelligence, geopolitics, neuroscience. That is security and conflict. Well, DJI, the biggest drone maker in the world, is a partner of the World Economic Forum. I can tell you that because I've done enough shows about that just to know that off the top of my head. So I know that the drone component is important to them. And we can only imagine where they're going. I think it's important to mention that the person that is in charge of the World Economic Forum's fourth industrial revolution technology side is Isabel Maxwell, the sister of Ghislaine Maxwell. In case you didn't want to throw yourself off the nearest rooftop already, there's that. And so the last question is, how do they get us there? If the fourth industrial revolution is going to really happen, and that is the transformation into what the Third Reich had always dreamt about, world domination. And with a background literally in the Third Reich with Schwab family. The question is, how will this transpire? How will we get thrust into the fourth industrial revolution? Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, the World Economic Forum already told us.